Well, hello there again, internet people. Welcome back to my channel. I think the thumbnail is quite clear what I'm going to talk about today. SVR and the auditor stroke driver who collided with a cyclist at a junction which was controlled by a traffic light. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to call the auditor the driver. So what do we know? We know that the driver sometimes uses his mobile as a dash cam. We know that the collision occurred at a junction controlled by traffic lights. And we know that the driver captured the incident on his mobile phone. We also know that the police attended and the driver handed his footage to the police. And this is key. We also know that only the police have seen the footage. And we know that the police decided not to prosecute. Now, here's the thing. When I first watched this, I did think, well, where did he get the footage? Not one of his subscribers actually asked a question, because they just, well, it was a driver's fault, auditor's fault, blah, 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 blah. Someone did, because on SVR's review, he puts it down as Crown property. And what this person actually told him, well, it can't be, because the person who took the video, he owns the copyright. He handed it in, and that's evidence, but they can't really give it to any third party, can they? I'm just asking you out there. What do you think? Right? Imagine you're in that position. Forget about the driver being an auditor. You have an accident. Okay, the police comes along. You then decide to give your footage to the police, and then the police decide not to prosecute. You're okay, and that you would have thought that what the police would do would either destroy the footage or send it back to the copyright owner. And then say that happened to you months down the line, you find a video on YouTube. You're going to wonder, well, hold on a minute, how did that get there? Anyway, I'm just putting it out there and for you to decide, okay? Now, the interesting thing, I was reading the comments on his channel, okay? I had to pop out. I popped out, there was 10 of them. And one thing I would say to you is this: I never say anything unless I can back it up, okay? So I popped out, I came back, and guess what? All the comments disappeared, right? It deleted all of them. So the question out there, right, who owns the copyright? I think if I had my dash cam when driving around, an accident occurs, and then I give it to the police, right? The police can't give it to a third party without my permission. Yeah, they can use it against me. Yeah, it's part of the evidence. But when they're finished with it, they're not going to do anything. It's got to come back to me. Anyway, so the question is, how did he get it? Well, to be honest, to be fair, right, I don't really care where he got it. It's up to him. I'm just putting it out there. I'm just giving you an alternate, a different view and what I see. Not what he says, what I see. Right. And I can say to you also, the original video in its proper form was banned from the UK, but you can still find it. I think it's near enough the same on another channel, okay? So you can go and look for it. I'm not going to tell you where it is. So let's deal with the incident, shall we? Let's have a look at the traffic light sequences. Well, you all know that if you're sitting at a traffic light, it's red, you can't go anywhere, okay? Then red and amber. When that's red and amber, the other lights will be on red, unless there was something wrong with those traffic lights. Again, you can't go, you've got to stay there. Green, you actually move forward and go if it's safe to do so. We know that, you all know that. Now, what did our driver, I'll call him our driver, okay? What did our driver do? He was sitting at traffic lights at red. The lights change red and amber. Now, this is the interesting thing, right? SVR didn't know that the driver moved forward slightly, then accelerated away. That's what he did. That's what happened. It was in red and amber. He moved slightly forward on red and amber, then accelerated, then the incident happened. You can see on the screen there's a car who actually jumped the lights and went past. If you go and watch the original video, which can be found on his channel, on his Dropbox, right? Just go into his comment section, go right down the bottom, it's on there. So on red and amber, he moved slightly forward, then it accelerated on green. Then obviously the accident occurred. Now, I call it accident because I am old school. RTA for me, I'll call it that all the time. Now, SVR didn't know that. One of his subscribers told him that, what happened. In fact, went back and asked him, can you give me a bit more information? Where do you see it? And the guy came back and told him, if you look at the right-hand corner, you will see as it changes. But he says, he drove off on amber and red. He didn't. He moved forward and accelerated on green. That's what he did, okay? Now, here's the funny thing, right, with this. Now, a lot of people a few people basically challenged SVR on this. And SVR kept saying, well, he drove on red and amber. Hold on a minute, you didn't even know. So you're jumping in the back of the bandwagon of your subscriber telling you, you did not know that the driver moved slightly forward and then accelerated on green. And here's him. Now, quite funny, he's taking the credit for it. Talking about credit, he was even going to give credit to the actual subscriber who told him and said he's not going to do any more. He's not going to do an update and see what other people will find. You can't make this shit up. So basically, he's relying on his subscribers to tell him how the accident happened. I'm sorry, but if you're going to do a preamble before you started it and then do your legal analysis and then blame the driver, all these fucking crap coming up with regard to criminal offences, driving offences, you got to get that right. You got to get it right. Anyway, so there's a short on his channel which shows the driver just driving, and you see the cyclist going across. A lot of people jumping the bandwagon, yeah, it's the driver, so blah, 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 blah. And recently, a couple of weeks ago, someone posted something on there. Now, I've already posted this bit where he says, I have always said that the cyclist shares some of the blame. Now, I agree with him, okay, for the accident, but the driver is at fault. I disagree. And in fact, he was quite nasty to this guy, and this guy actually has more driving experience than SVR, right? And he said to him, well, have you got a license? You shouldn't be driving, just because he was challenged. Now, why do I think the driver is not fully at fault? Yeah, I would say partly to blame. Then again, just a little bit. Why? And here comes in the case law, this case here. Now, this is a 2011 case, which was heard on the 5th of December 2011. Malazi and Ahmed. Now, can I just say this? A lot of cases similar to this and similar to what I'm talking about are not reported. Sometimes you get solicitors will deal with it, deal with similar incidents as this, and also insurance companies will deal with it as well. And so what I'm saying, what you're seeing here is a case that was reported. Right, what happened in this case? A collision occurred between the defendant taxi driver, in this case, and the claimant cyclist at a traffic light, control traffic light, I should say, at a T junction. Can't even read it. The taxi passed through a green light and the collision occurred as a cyclist who was coming from the taxi driver's left crossed a red light. Exactly what happened in the case we're talking about. But in this instance, the taxi driver had been proceeding at between 41 and 50 miles an hour in a 30 mile an hour speed limit. And the cyclist had run a red light, failed to wear a high-vis vest and a helmet, and failed to apply his brakes to avoid the collision. Now, what the court, you can go and look it up, what the court said in this is that if the cyclist had obeyed the traffic lights, the accident would have happened. But because in this instance, however, the taxi driver's speed was relevant and did amount to negligence. What the court is saying, the taxi driver is partly to blame as well. But it was found that the cyclist was 80% to blame and the taxi driver 20% to blame. Right? So what I'm saying here, when I'm looking at this one, now this is not legal advice in any way, it's just my opinion. Okay? I'm looking at this, the way I look at this, I don't think the cyclist is wholly to blame. I don't think the driver is wholly to blame. I think the cyclist is wholly to blame. If I was looking at this, I would say 90% to blame and the driver 10%. Only because he slightly moved forward and then accelerate on green. Okay? Now, I don't know if he just sat where he was and when it was green and he put his foot down, would the accident happen? I think so. Because if you look at the original video, see where the cyclist come from, he only moved forward slightly, but it would have hit him anyway. That's what I see. Now, again, recap, in my opinion, not legal advice, in my opinion, what I saw, what SVR disclose is basically the driver moving forward slightly, accelerated, then a cyclist comes across, then the accident happened. In my opinion, the cyclist is 90% to blame, and the driver, I would say 10%, as per Malazi and Ahmed. The only difference in this accident, of course, is the speed limit. Now, next question is, can a cyclist sue? Yes, they can, because the court looks at it differently. In this case, what would solicitors do if they had to run it, either for the cyclist or the driver? I mean, I'm only looking at the video like SVR did and came to a conclusion. He blames the driver for other things. I basically think, no, the cyclist, and I provided you with a case law. And if I was, not me, say I was working for a solicitor's firm and this sort of case appeared before me, I'd be looking at this case I'm showing in front of you. And that's how I would negotiate it. Normally, obviously, if the cyclist will want probably 100%, it will start at 50-50, eventually maybe 70-30, 60-40, but I would go for a 90-10. 10% for the driver and 90% for the cyclist, looking at this case. Now, what I would say to you, if ever any of you are involved in any sort of road traffic accident, either for, just had my phone go then, as a driver, obviously if you're a driver, your insurance will deal with it. They instruct solicitors who specialise in RTAs. If you're a cyclist, you're probably not insured. Go and search the internet and find someone who specialises in these sort of cases. They are out there. Now, if a solicitor was dealing with both parties, there is this. This is what they'll have to do. To do a proper liability investigations, you have to do a locus report. Most solicitors will instruct an inquiry agent who will go along there and take photographs and time the changes of the traffic lights. And also a key factor in these, also double check if there was a fault of traffic light. All these things will come into place. So here, locus report is called, in the context of the CPR, the Civil Procedure Rule. It's in there. I can't remember the actual, I think it's 15 or 35 or 25, something like that anyway, but you can look it up. Just type in CPR locus report. Is a detailed document used in legal cases, particularly those involving accidents, to document the location where an accident occurred. Typically includes photographs, measurements, and a description of the scene, often with a CAD plan. Now the question, have I done it? What do you think? Anyway, so just to recap, in my opinion, not legal advice, having looked at this and looked at the case law, I believe, for me, the driver was not fully at fault, as SVR stated. I believe that 90%, looking at this, and they should do, like I said, the proper locus report, right? You can't really give an opinion on liability. I'm only giving it on what I've seen, and also the case I've quoted. So in my opinion, the cyclist, if I was looking at this, I would say 90% to blame and the driver 10% because he slightly moved forward and then accelerated on green. Again, if you go and look at it properly and think to yourself, well, suppose that the driver didn't actually move forward slightly and then accelerated on green, would the accident happen? In my opinion, yes. Because why? The cyclist jumped the lights. And in that case, which I referred to, the accident would not have occurred if the cyclist did not jump the lights. It is as simple as that. Anyway, again, this is not legal advice. It's just my personal opinion. But you know what? You can have a look at it yourself and decide. Now, SVR talked about driving offences. I'm not looking at that. The problem is, are you going to look at this because he's an auditor? Right? Suppose it was me driving. That happened. Okay? And I had to get somewhere very quickly. Now, I've looked at cases, similar cases to this, right? But unfortunately, I can't really give you the names or go through them because obviously, you know why. I can't do that. But I have seen cases like this, which has not gone to court. The case has been issued, and then the Part 36 come in and they settle maybe on a 80-20 or sometimes on a 90-10. And the reason I'm saying 90-10, because do you think I've seen a similar case? Of course I have. Exactly like this. Yeah, I have. Okay, that's it from me. Peace, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now. And at the end of the day, it's not legal advice. It's just a thought. Something to think about.